Hare Krishna. So today on the auspicious occasion of Gaur Purnima, or the appearance day of Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya, I would like to present to you sort of a recitation of Ujjvala Varana, or also popularly known as Sacitanayastakam, basically which literally translates to Ashtakam means 8 verses. So Sachi is the mother of Lord Chaitanya, and Tanaya means son. So 8 verses in glorification of the son of Mother Sachi. And this is composed by Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a great impersonalist, very learned scholar. But when he came in association with Lord Chaitanya, he became a great Vaishnava. And Gauda Ganadesh Dipika, which describes the um, internal um, connections or their of the associates of Lord Chaitanya vis-a-vis their relationship with Krishna Lila, or their personality in the Vedic times. It refers to this Gaudiya Ganadesh Dipika refers Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya as Brihaspati, or the guru of the demigods. So naturally, his status as a very learned scholar is retained in this appearance as Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And after his interactions with Lord Chaitanya, he becomes a great devotee. And in fact, Gauda Ganadesh Dipika refers to his particular branch of Gaudiya Sampradaya to be one of the largest branches. So definitely, um, his his scholarly um, uh, scholarly disposition, and his after interaction with Lord Chaitanya, his becoming a devotee has of course a significant effect in the spreading of the transcendental message of love of God that Lord Chaitanya came to present. So in today's recitation, before I get to the Ujjvala Varana or the Sri Sacitanayastakam itself, I would like to quote 2 verses. In fact, they are back to back in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they are composed by Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And it is very relevant to today because today is the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. And here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya describes the inner intent or the internal reason of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, and how, as devotees, we can connect to him in these 2 verses. Um, so, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, 6th chapter, verse number 254 and 255 describes this. So let's just jump right in. 254, verse number 254 says, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharthameka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Budhiryas Tam Aham Prapadde. Translation: Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge. His devotional service and detachment from whatever that does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has descended because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender unto his lotus feet. So here, Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya describes the reason Lord Chaitanya, the real reason Lord Chaitanya appeared, apart from, of course, which is not described over here, is that he wanted, when Srimati Radharani wanted to experience uh, the love that Krishna has for her. That is, of course, one of the reasons of appearance of Lord Chaitanya. But the reason of, or the external reason of appearance of Lord Chaitanya, in the sense that, um, or the preaching movement itself, is that he is that who can teach about Krishna. So the ideal person to teach about Krishna is Krishna himself, because no one knows Krishna, everything about Krishna, because Krishna is supreme. So his potencies, everything about him is unlimited. So in this advent, Krishna himself comes as in the mood of Srimati Radharani to do what? To preach his devotional service, means how to engage in devotional service unto Krishna. And in that process, a equally important aspect is, which he teaches, Apani Achari Prabhu Jibere Shikai. By his personal example, as the ideal devotee, he preaches that engaging in devotional service is one aspect, but detachment from things which are detrimental for fostering Krishna consciousness or progressing in Krishna consciousness is equally important. And here Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya focuses on both these things, equally important. That is the knowledge of devotional service to Krishna, and at the same time the knowledge of Vairagya. That is why it is called Vairagya Vidya. Okay, so detachment from things which are detrimental to Krishna consciousness. Only then one can engage uh, favorably, or in a way which would be conducive to one's Tivra Bhakti, or rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Okay, and so Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya concludes this verse by calling upon himself and everyone else, of course, by extension, uh, that let me surrender unto that Patit Pavan Sri Krishna Chaitanya's lotus feet. In the next verse, or the very next verse actually, uh, the mood in which one has to surrender is elaborated upon. So it goes like this: Kalanashtam bhakti yoga nijam yah pradushkartum Krishna Chaitanya nama avirbhutastasya padaravinde gadham gadham liyatam chitta bringa. Translation: Let my consciousness, which is like a honeybee, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Which Supreme Personality of Godhead? That Supreme Personality of Godhead who has just now appeared as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today is his appearance day. To teach, to do what? To teach the ancient science of devotional service to himself. So again, it reiterates that he has come to teach devotional service to himself. He has come in his original form, as means Krishna himself has come as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. That is why his name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu means Prabhu means master or teacher, and Mahaprabhu is the foremost master. So the of course Krishna himself is the greatest teacher. So that's why his name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he comes to teach the ancient science of devotional service to himself. It is not that this devotional service to himself he is inventing right now in this age of Kali. This devotional science to himself is available since time immemorial. However, in this age of Kali, he has made the access to this devotional service to himself very easy. Okay, and that is why he is also called as Patit Pavan, the, the deliverer of the fallen conditioned souls. It is not possible for in this age of Kali to first purify oneself, okay, uh, fully, and then get access to this practice of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that through the process of Sankirtan or the chanting or congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Lord Chaitanya has established a very simple process which delivers the fallen conditioned souls. The in fact, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur prays I'll not get into that song right now, but he says that the purport of that is he says, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that I am most qualified to have access to your devotional service. Why? And he answers, he makes this statement and then he answers it himself, because I am most fallen. So in this age of Kali, if one has the proclivity to Krishna consciousness, then being fallen is not a disqualification. In fact, our Acharya Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that because I am most fallen and because you are Patit Pavan, you are the deliverer of the fallen, so you are obliged rather as a this is as in which we call as hat karke, the devotee is saying, or in great humility, or by being considering the Lord as his only solace, the devotee is praying that how can you deny me the uh, this mercy uh, of deliverance uh, at your lotus feet, because I am most fallen, so I am most qualified to get this mercy from you because you are Patit Pavan. So these two verses are also composed by uh, are composed by Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and then subsequently, of course, it appears in um, both in Sri um, Chaitanya Charitamrita and also in Chaitanya Bhagavad. In fact, in Chaitanya Bhagavad, uh, it is described that how that these two verses would have probably got lost, because when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya composes this, he sends them in a palm leaf through Jagadananda Pandit to uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a palm leaf. But because the Lord uh, he he has advanted to deliver the fallen conditioned soul, but he doesn't want to reveal himself as the supreme personality of Godhead. Of course, he reveals this to his intimate devotees, intimate associates at Shiva Sangan, and during his interactions with Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai, he does that. But publicly to the general populace, he does not want to reveal that he is Krishna himself. And so he tears up apart these two verses. But Jagadananda Pandit had the foresight that the Lord might do it. So what he did is, before he presented these to the Lord, he on the doorway he made a he wrote these in the doorway, and that is how the subsequent generation of Gaudiya Vaishnavas got access to these beautiful verses. So, anyways, with these, let us get to Ujjvala Varana. Before I recite this, I would also like to make another very important point when it comes to the Gaudiya poetry or Gaudiya songs on Lord Chaitanya. Um, they typically describe the breadth of description of the Supreme Personality's qualities are much wider than any other avatar, um, or even, I dare say, even uh, the Supreme Person Krishna, when he appears and his pastimes are described. Of course, Krishna is the Supreme Person, and so his pastimes description of them is very sweet, and devotees are very attracted to them, and they are definitely very the diversified qualities of the Supreme Lord are described. But where else would you find, except in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, where the devotee or the Acharya here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, is, for example, describing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya as a sannyasi, as a grihastha householder, as the Supreme Person, and his different ecstasies in these all these uh, different forms, because in each of these there are some maryada of, for typical, for regular sannyasi there is some maryada there, for a grihastha there are some maryada, for the Supreme Person when he comes as Lord Ram there is some, he is called maryada purushottam, so he imposes some maryada on himself, right? But where else would you find all these aspects being encapsulated into a sort of an ashtakam or 8 verse, where, because when if there is I mean, when there are 8 verses or any verses, for example, let's say Chaurashtakam, okay, so where Krishna the butter thief is described, okay, very beautiful verse, set of verses by um, Bilwa Mangal Thakur, okay, so there Bilwa Mangal Thakur is describing Chaurashtakam, describing that Krishna is the butter thief and I will imprison you in my heart, but from beginning to end, from the very first verse to the last verse, Krishna is, it is clear, it is depicted explicitly that Krishna is the Supreme Person. He is the butter thief. He is engaging with his devotees or his associates with in all these transcendental pastimes. But in the form of Lord Chaitanya, because he is playing the dual role of both an ideal devotee and the Supreme Person, which he cannot prevent himself uh, from exposing to his intimate associates. So these verses are on Lord Chaitanya is even more broad based, and the ocean of ecstasy that is seen in these verses is just incomprehensible. And as we'll see, for example, even before I read, let me just to reiterate what I have just stated, let me take you, I have basically marked here, basically the type of quality of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing in these verses. So in this verse 1, he is describing different ecstasies and glorifying the quality of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya as the deliverer of the fallen. Okay. In verse 2, he is comparing Lord Chaitanya as, he says, Durjana Tarjana, means he is who has rebuked the miscreants. One example of that is, or he has rebuked the miscreants, it's a simple way of saying that he has killed his enemies, um, or destroyed his enemies. Um, One example is Lord Nishingadev. Okay, so here he is comparing Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya with another form of the Supreme Lord. Okay, but at the same time, here he is also talking about he is being a very compassionate master. Okay, in if we take it in the to the next verse, here uh, he is jumping into the qualities of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya as a sannyasi, and at the same time, how Lord Krishna, who is the supreme person, he is, when we pray to him, he is very pleased. Okay, when you glorify the supreme Lord, he is very pleased, because it is not that he is a sadist, that you glorify Hitler, then he is pleased. It is one way of pleasing the master, but the supreme Lord is pleased when we glorify him, because that is the way of our deliverance. So he is pleased for us. Okay, but here we find that as a the qualities of a sannyasi, who is generally, who is that he is renounced, he is not expecting, not accepting any worship. Okay, but because he is the supreme person himself at the simultaneously, so these overflowing of emotions are coming in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that he cannot help himself describe the qualities as a sannyasi, and at the same time that he is pleased with by glorification done by his devotees, just as Lord Krishna is pleased by the glorification. Then in the very next verse, he is experiencing love in separation, which he displays quite extensively in Antelila of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in his manifested pastimes, especially when he uh, takes Kshetra Sannyas in uh, Jagannath Puri, in the last years of his manifested presence on this earth, where he displays separation. He is there, he is not displaying uh, himself as the supreme person. He is displaying the emotions which Srimati Radharani uh, encounters when being away from Krishna. So you can see that the the traversal of these verses, okay, it just shows the sheer. It is not a chronological event. Okay, it just shows a sheer overflowing of emotions in glorification of the Supreme Lord and his qualities as the sannyasi, in separation, love in separation and everything. So continuing with that, you see in verse number 5, he describes the childhood pastimes like Krishna. Okay, so these that his his lips are sweet, his ankle bracelets are very pleasing. It sweetens the scene. These are, this is very similar to the Madhurashtakam of Srila Vallavacharya. Okay, where you know Srila Vallavacharya is describing how every single aspect of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is sweet. Okay, but continuing to the next verse, you see again Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing the sannyas pastimes of, and here he is very explicitly talking about the the kamandalu, the dhritakati dora, the thread that is tied around the waist. Uh, at the same time, and he is having a shaven head and things like that. So you can see the sheer traversal of emotions trying to cover this gigantic personality of the supreme person, who is also the greatest devotee into 8 verses. So naturally, this overflowing of emotions are not. It is not possible. Rather, my point is, it is not possible to be very chronological in this, in such things. Okay, in fact, it makes it much sweeter that these different facets of this come in from all directions, of these pastimes, and the glorifications are coming in from all directions. Continuing, if you see in verse 7, here again, now sannyas pastimes is described, Supreme Lord's childhood pastimes are described. So from childhood, sannyas came, and then now we are going to grihastha pastimes. Okay, so here again, grihastha pastimes are again in relation to the Supreme Lord. Uh, his his lips are like red berries. His hair has mixed with the dust of the earth because he's rolling on the ground in ecstasy. Okay, but in all of these, still, if we I'll come to this, the connection with Gaurarti, I'll come to that. And then in verse number 8, the verse number 8 describes Lord Chaitanya as how an avatar of the Lord would be described. So, why? Because here it describes that his arms are longer than, if a person is standing with his arms out, erect and trying to touch the knee, for example. For normal people, it will not touch the knee. So in Vedic culture, it is considered that a great person or a Mahatma, his fingernails, his fingers would basically, if you attempt to touch the knee without bending, it will touch the knee only for great personalities. That is called ajanulam with a bahu. And of course, um, Lord Chaitanya is not just a great personality; he is the supreme person himself. So obviously, this is one of the physical. How do you know if someone is the Supreme Lord? This is one of the physical features that is present in all avatars. Okay, so that's why I'm calling it as description as an avatar. So as we see, Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has given everything that he composed in those two verses, those two Sanskrit verses, again in this form of, with Sanskrit verses but present in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, also in his Ashtakam, or these 8 verses, which are of course in Sanskrit. So, with all of this, now I am very eager to now, sing. I am not good at singing, but just to express my minute levels of ecstasy, um, please allow me to sing this. And basically what I have tried to put here is, I put this meaning of these words in such a way that those who are not very familiar with Sanskrit also can understand the meaning well. Okay. So Ujjvala Varana means radiant form. Gauravara Deham is shining golden lotus face and body. Vilasita Niravadhi. Niravadhi means, Avadhi means with some interruptions. Niravadhi means without any interruption. So is displaying uninterruptedly. Bhava Videham means variegated moods and ecstasies. Bhava means moods and ecstasies. Videham means varieties of moods and ecstasies. So he is not displaying just one kind of mood and ecstasy, varieties of moods and ecstasies. Tribhuvana Pavana Kripayalesham. Tribhuvana means 3 worlds. Okay. Pavana Kripayalesham means he is purifying the 3 worlds, but it is not requiring his entire energy to purify the 3 worlds, because he is the supreme person. So he just kripaya lesham, by just a speck of his mercy, he is able to purify the 3 worlds. Tam pranamamicha Sri Sacitanayam. So obeisances to Sri Sachi, to the son of Sri Sachi. Okay, tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanayam. This last line of each of these 8 verses is same. So I'm not repeating the meaning in them. So, but the rest of them I'm doing. So verse number 2 says, Gadgadantara bhava vikaram durjana tarjana nada vishalam. Gadgadantara means with raptured heart, because so much of emotions are in that, as if there is some, fragments have happened in Gad. So with overflowing emotion, we say Gad Gad. So that inside, okay, Antara means inside in his heart. So Gad Gad Antara Bhava Vikaram. So overcome by intense love. Durjana Tarjana Nada Vishalam. So it is he's comparing how Lord Nishingadev would rebuke the miscreants with loud roars. Okay, so it is not that Lord Chaitanya is doing like this. Okay, Durjana Tarjana Nada Vishalam in his appearance as this, but the overflowing of intense love and this raptured heart, it seems that there is uh, there is such a sort of overflowing of emotions that this loud roaring is this equivalent situation seems to be happening, which happens when in Lord Narasimha avatar he does this, he rebukes the miscreants, and loudly he when he is about to rip apart the abdomen of Hiranyakashipu, he is loudly roaring. So here, of course, in this avatar, he is not Lord Chaitanya is not killing anyone by the physical form of the body. He is not killing, but he is killing the anarthas, the the inconsistencies, the fallenness, the fallen conditioned souls, uh, inclination to be away from Krishna, um, to not engage in Krishna conscious activity, that he is destroying through his intense love that he is propagating through the Sankirtan movement. So that similar emotion is happening without, or the effect of that emotion is happening without actually they are being roaring or rebuking of the miscreant in this form. Bhava bhava bhaya bhanjana karana karunam. So bhava means this material world, and this material world is bhayavak, or there is a fear of this material ocean, of this causal ocean, right? So he removes this fear through karana karunam, through his karuna means through his compassion. Okay, so the effect of his compassion removes this fear of material ocean. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. I offer obeisances to the son of Mother Sachi. Verse number 3. Arunambaradhara charu kapolam indu vinindita nakhachaya ruchiram. Arunam Varadhara. Aruna is the early rays of the sun. Okay, so the early saffron colored rays which we see when the sun is just rising. So Aruna is also called as the charioteer of the sun god. Okay, so Arunam Varadhara. So it looks like he is wearing saffron. It describes that the garment he is wearing is of course saffron, and that saffron is like the early morning initial sun rays, that colored saffron. Okay. Charu kapolam. So radiantly shining cheeks is radiantly shining how? Like the early morning sun rays. Indu vidindita nakhachaya ruchiram. In Indu, of course, means the moon. Uh, Indu Vinindita. So there is a host of, it is able to defeat the beauty or the serenity a of of a host of moons, of hundreds of moons. Such is the radiant shining cheeks and the this colored saffron colored garments of Lord Chaitanya as a sannyasi. That's why I say this is describing qualities as a sannyasi. Jalpita nijaguna nama vinodam. So, discussions and glorifications of his own glories and names please him. But because he is Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord's glorification of the names benefits us and it pleases him, so he is, because he is Supreme Lord, it pleases him also, even though he is in the sannyasi form of, and how much ever he may try to um, conceal his being the Supreme Lord, it does please him immensely, and that benefits the fallen conditioned soul. So Jalpita Nija Guna Nama Vinodam. So Jalpita means Jalpana Kalpana, we say. So Jalpita means discussions. Okay, Nija Guna Nama Vinodam. So Vinodam means very pleasing. Okay, so Nija Guna Nama. So the of his names and glories. Okay, his own glories and names and glories, when they are discussed and glorified, it pleases him. Tam pranamamicha Sri Sacitanaya. Next verse. Vigalita Nayana Kamala Jaladharam Bhushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram. So Vigalita means flowing, Nayana Kamala. So his eyes, which are just like lotus petals. So like lotus eyes, we call it. Jaladharam. So a stream of tears, okay, like as if like a waterfall. So unending flow of, so much of overcome with emotion is this love in separation. Bhushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram. So he is adorned with different mellows, very new and diversified mellows, which is not, has not been seen before. Newer and newer mellows he is displaying. Okay, bhava, which are of course accessible to only his most confidential devotees. Bhava Vikaram, the different transformations, the different ecstatic transformation, the variegatedness of that. Gati ati manthara nritya vilasam tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. So here Gati ati manthara means is, there is a, as he moves, there is a slow grace to it. It is not that he is violently moving. The way his walking is like dancing, and that dancing is a free flowing dance. Okay, Nritya Vilasam, and he enjoys these dancing pastimes, especially in front of the cart of Lord Jagannath, when he, along with his intimate associates and other devotees, when he participates in Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra, he manifests these. Okay, Tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. Verse number 5. Chanchala charu charanagati ruchiram manjira ranjita pada juga madhuram. So this, particularly this verse, is reminiscent to the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna in many compositions of many exalted devotees. Here Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying his lovely yet restless lotus feet, uh, the movement of that captivates the mind. Okay, his ankle bracelets sweetens this scene. Okay, so his gait, okay, is, as he is restlessly moving, it's captivating the mind, and his ankle bracelets, so this is clearly, it's the childhood pastimes, sweetens this scene, and this defeats, and this is earlier also in description of the moon was given in the verse number 3. So and so the description of the moon is both there in the sannyas pastimes and also now in the childhood pastimes. Chandra vinindita shitala vadanam tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. So it defeats the moon's beauty. Okay, these pleasing pastimes, this tinkling of the ankle bracelets and this slow movement which captivates the heart, it is more pleasing. It defeats the beauty of the moon. Uh, and all of this is stopped with a pleasing cooling face. So there is this pleasing cooling face, the ankle bracelets, and this lovely restless lotus feet. All of these captivates the mind and defeats even the beauty of the moon. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. Again in verse 6, again description of the sannyas pastimes are there, and here it is very explicit. The different things that a sannyasi carries, especially in which was current at that time. Okay, Dhritakati Dora, okay, wears a cord around the waist and carries kamandalu to pour water. Okay, so kamandalu dandam, Dhritakati Dora, kamandalu dandam, divya kalevara mundita mundam. So divya kalevara, the body is divine. Okay, his body is divine. This divine form is complemented by mundita mundam. So mundita mundam means there is no hair, or it is completely shaven head. Okay, so the completely shaven head perfectly complements the divya kalevar, or the divine body of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Durjana kalmasha khandana dandam. So the wicked scenes, the scenes of the wicked people or the fallen people, are annulled by the rod of chastisement. Here again, he is not physically attacking, except when he almost attacked um, during the Jagai Madhai pastime. We come to know, because they had attacked Lord Nityananda, but in his past, and then Lord Nityananda reminds Lord Chaitanya that this particular advent of yours is not meant for killing Hiranyakashipu physically and things like that. The purpose here is very different, and of course nowhere else in his this manifested pastime is the Supreme Lord in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He doesn't physically attack any of the demons, but he the rod that the sannyasi carries, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing this that rod to that it it works in the sense that it chastises the wicked sins of the fallen conditioned soul. So it drives away, it scares, he intends to say in this way, that it scares to death the sins of the fallen conditioned souls. Okay, are annulled, are completely destroyed, are crushed by this rod of or danda that the sannyasi Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya is carrying. So you can see every facet uh, of of even a person's life goes from childhood to grihastha to sannyas, vanaprastha to sannyas. Everything is covered, even in while describing the supreme personality's pastimes. So tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanaya. Verse number 7 describes depictions of grihasthasya pastimes, or grihastha householder pastimes of the Lord. Here it says, Bhushana Bhuraja Alaka Valitam Kampita Bimbavara Vara Ruchiram. So Bhushana means the ornament that he is wearing is of Bhuraja, the dust of the earth is ornamented on his hair. Alaka Valitam is endowed. Okay, the dust of the earth is endowed like an ornament on his hair. When does this happen? This can happen only when one is only when one is completely in ecstasy of love of God. So in householder pastime also he is describing, he is depicting these different mellows. Kampita bimbavara vara ruchiram. Kampita means trembling. Bimbavara means Kampita bimbadhara is these lips like the bimba fruit. Okay. Kampita bimbadhara vara ruchiram. So it is, these are extremely pleasing. These are excellent and pleasing. Malayaja virachita ujjvala tilakam. So Malayaja virachita. So virachita means rachita, or virachita means here it means the drawing of the tilaka, ujjvala tilakam. Ujjvala means bright. Tilaka, of course, is the Vaishnavas or the Gaudiya Vaishnavas put two lotus feet of the Lord with the Tulsi marking. So here Malayaja is used, that is sandalwood uh, is used to draw this tilaka. That is what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing. Tam pranamamicha Sri Sacitanayam. So here I would like to state here is that when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing all these different pastimes, even when he is describing pastimes as a sannyasi, or the or as a childhood, or the childhood pastimes, or the grihastha pastimes, he is not forgetting that the supreme person, that Lord Chaitanya is still the supreme personality of Godhead. If you compare the Gora, because this worship or this glorification that is like a supreme Lord, which is given, like a means glorification of the supreme Lord given or recorded even when he is a sannyasi, uh, is not lost to us when we see the Gaurarti. So we know that in Gaurarti, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is describing the arati that is taking place and who all are participating in it. Okay, so there, for example, Brahma, Shukadev Goswami, uh, Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, they are all appearing to perform arati of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. They are not performing the, because they are, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are sitting on jeweled throne. They are not sitting there in their saffron robes. Or Lord Chaitanya is not sitting, of course not Lord Nityananda, but Lord Chaitanya is not sitting in saffron robes. Lord Chaitanya is sitting in his original supreme personality form. Okay, he is the supreme person. He is accepting worship from Lord Brahma. So, so where it says in Gaurarti verse number 3, Boshi ache Gorachan Ratno Singhasone Arati Koreno Brahma Adi Devavane. So, um, so the same thing. Here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he is describing Lord Chaitanya's these pastimes, it is not lost to him that Lord Chaitanya is, even when Lord Chaitanya is himself from the public glare, he is preventing the general populace to know that he is the supreme person. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's depictions make it amply clear when we see all these verses together that it is, there is no doubt that these are supporting his two verses composition given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we described earlier. So the last verse is Nindita Aruna Kamala Dala Nayanam Ajanulambita Sri Bhuja Yugalam Kalevara Kaishwara Nartaka Vesham Tam Pranamamicha Sri Sachitanaya. Nindita means it is surpassing. It surpasses the Aruna rising sun. So again, this aspect has been touched in earlier verses. But like I said, it is an overflowing of emotions of different aspects coming in. And so there is back and forth. We saw that there was sannyas past time described in verse 6 and also in verse 3. Okay. So it is not a person who is a chronological describer. He would describe the sannyas past tense together, the childhood past tense together, right? Uh, but Vaishnava poetry or emotion of the devotee towards the Supreme Lord is not one dimensional. It doesn't flow, sort of chronologically, and that makes it even more beautiful actually. So Nindita, it surpasses the rising suns, Arunas, Kamala Dala Nayanam. So the Kamala Dala means the petal, the stem of the lotus flower. Nayanam, like that is his eyes, and that surpasses the rising sun, Aruna, who is the charioteer of sun god, the rising sun's beauty. Ajanulambita Sribhuja Jugalam. So his splendid two arms, they are extending down to the knees. This is, like I said, a an evidence or a physical evidence of a supreme person or a great avatar. Great personalities also have this. Kalevara Kaishora Nartaka Vesham. Kalevara means divine body. Kaishora means adolescent. Okay, so he is so in Srimad Bhagavatam we have description of Lord Krishna. He is even when and even elsewhere, even when he is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is not when he is a 200 plus year old in that manifested body. He is still the 16-year-old body. His body is not aging like living conditioned souls. So here that aspect is described by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Kalevara Kaishora, this divine body is just like Kaishora means the adolescent body, 15, 16-year old. Nartaka Vesham, dressed like a dancer. Okay. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sacitanayam. So, so that's it. Uh, Thank you for listening, and this is my humble submission on this appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you.